technologies for domestic production of oil and natural gas. I'm the only candidate in this race who supported legislation in Tallahassee to drill off of Florida's coast. And even after the BP incident, as I mentioned, I stayed firm because this is a national security issue. We must reduce our dependence of sending trillions of dollars to foreign countries who do not like us very much in order for us to get our energy. We need to be energy independent and energy secure, and first and foremost is an all of the above energy policy. When I was in the legislature, I supported nuclear power and still do. I support offshore drilling, and any type of alternate energy needs to survive on its own without government subsidies or government mandates or any type of cap and trade or carbon tax scheme.
Should there be public unions?
There may be a role for employee unions, and I know many of you may have come from one. I'm the son of two former public school teachers who were in the teachers union back in Brooklyn, New York, back in the day. I think those unions have outlived their purpose. And what I think what's most important to understand is that as taxpayers, we are the ones who are providing the benefits for those public employees. And there has been far too often, you've seen this game be played between the public employees and the elected officials, where they support them in the campaigns in exchange for increasing their salary and increasing their benefits. And so if there is a way to eliminate that process, and I believe there is, which would be to eliminate the automatic deduction of union dues from paychecks, I think that would be a great first step. But I think in terms of public employees in general, I think it's outlived its purpose, and more so, I know here in Florida it's in the Constitution, but more so I support a federal right to work legislation so that we do not have the types of problems that we have today where either private employee unions or public employee unions are holding employers over the barrel and extracting benefits that either taxpayers can't afford or companies can't afford.
Tell us your philosophy on subsidies and earmarks.
First and foremost is that I have made a pledge that's part of my 10-point plan on my website, adamhasner.com. When I go to Washington, I will not support any legislation with an earmark in it whatsoever. And I can tell you this, is that right now in government, we can't afford the types of subsidies that are out there. I supported the elimination of the ethanol subsidy, and I would support the elimination of all of those types of subsidies if we can't make the small decisions when it comes to balancing our federal budget, like cutting Planned Parenthood or eliminating funding for National Public Radio. How do we expect that we're going to have the political courage to balance our budget with the types of spending cuts that we need to make elsewhere in the budget and the types of entitlement reforms that we need to make? And so I think it is very important for us to understand that those are types of things that we cannot afford right now. We have to get our fiscal house in order, and that means making difficult decisions in eliminating spending, and subsidies are a part of it, and earmarks are certainly a part of it.
There is a budget crunch and you have to reduce spending. Which of these agencies' budgets would you reduce? The EPA, DOE, or FDA?
Can I say all of the above? and I think, and I'm not sure if I heard the Department of Education in there either. I think, and the Department of Education is a perfect example. And while the budget is only about $100 billion at the federal DOE, I think it sends the wrong message in terms of states' rights. I think it sends the wrong message in terms of where the power should be to best educate our children. And that is at the states and at the local level. And so a devolution of that agency, of the Department of Education, back to the states, back to the localities, is critical. When you talk about the EPA, I couldn't agree with you more about defunding it because of what it is doing. The bureaucrats and the regulation right now threatening with a backdoor cap and trade and carbon tax. These are the job-killing regulations that are out there. Republicans right now have the ability to do more oversight, to be more aggressive. I haven't seen it yet, but when we take back control of the majority in the House and the Senate, after 2012, that is an agency, whether a Republican president or a Democrat president, where the Congress needs to be more aggressive so that there is less coming out of the agency, and everything that does come out has congressional authority.
Thank you. What is your opinion of climate change science?
What I can tell you is I don't believe in man-made global warming, and that it is I don't buy into the alarmist mentality that is out there that the world is coming to an end. Whether there is some warming or not, I think is still yet to be factually determined over a long period of time. But whether there is or not, I don't think that it rises to the level of where we need to completely globalize our economy and create the types of schemes that are going to reduce individual freedom, and more so that are going to drive up the cost of energy. It's all about control. And these are people who have an agenda and are using quote-unquote climate change as a way to achieve their agenda to have more control over the energy economy, not just in America, but around the entire world as well.
What is the purpose of climate change regulations?
Well, and I think I just mentioned that briefly. The purpose of it, I believe, is to organize the entire economy. I think the purpose of it is to have wealth transformation or wealth transfer from industrial countries to non-industrial countries. This is a scheme that has been invented by those who think that it's better for America to fit in with the rest of the world than it is for America to lead it. I think it is critical for us to fight back and fight back aggressively, because the types of regulations that are out there are going to increase the cost of energy. They're going to reduce our individual freedoms. We see it now with what type of light bulbs we can choose and those types of things. So this really is about control of a very large sector of our economy and of the global economy as well.
In attending county commission meetings over the past year, our members have been shocked to discover the implementation of global governance throughout all facets of our local government. Terms such as smart growth, green print, and sustainable development indicate UN-based policies being implemented locally under the general umbrella of Agenda 21. What do you know about Agenda 21?
I'm familiar with Agenda 21. I have a much different vision for the 21st century, and it doesn't include George Soros. I can tell you that I will oppose anything that has any impact on our nation's sovereignty. And for us to defer decisions to global organizations, to the United Nations, is in contradiction with everything that I believe about America and America's role in the world, whether it's on the issue of environmental regulations, whether it's on issues related to the family, or whether it's on issues related to currency. I think it is extremely important for America to retain our sovereignty, and so that we do not fit in with everybody else.
Our last question.
Sure.
Are there any conditions under which international law should be considered or applied to the United States? For example, for gun control, Sharia law, or parental rights?
I can just say this, that there has been no one in this state who has been more outspoken about the threats of Sharia law. For 5 years now, I have been showing movies like Obsession, Radical Islam's War Against the West, The Third Jihad. I have been on the same stage with Geert Wilders. I have recognized, and I do recognize, that Sharia law is incompatible with the tenets and principles of the United States Constitution, and I will do everything possible to ensure that Sharia law is not insinuated into our American courts, into Florida courts. It is something that does not respect the rights of women, the individual rights of others. This is something that we need to be more educated about. And this is something that I have been a leader on for years and will continue to be outspoken on it, regardless of the fact that even just recently, the Council of American Islamic Relations just attacked me for speaking out against Sharia Islam. This is something that I believe is a threat, as I mentioned, not just a threat on foreign soil, but also from the Muslim Brotherhood. It is a threat from those who seek to destroy us from within, and we cannot allow political correctness to get into the way. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you want what we need. That's what we need. Adam House. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. God bless you. Thank you. Adam House. Nice to meet you. Thank you guys. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you. I'm Adam. Hey Adam. Adam House. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you guys very much.
Refreshing to be here.
God bless you.
I'm from Ohio.
And then we have our last speaker, so we expect to be wrapping up about 5:30. And again, if Representative Hasner wanted to return at 5:30, he could do that too. So let's go ahead and get seated, please.
Better side, isn't it? Probably.
I hope everyone, how do you feel about what's going on today, everybody? Okay, so,
I turned around and saw you were starting up the aisle, so I figured I'll wait.
yeah, thank you. We'll let them step outside. Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to bring up a fellow, a gentleman that from Windermere, Ron Rushing, who also has filed for Senate, and I was contacted by his campaign, and he's trying to get his word out, and of course we don't want to not hear from Ron, and so I told Ron that he could speak to us for 5 minutes, and Ron, you were going to tell us about yourself?
I am.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today. As she said, I am Ron Rushing, and I also am running for the U.S. Senate. I'm a Christian, a conservative Republican, family man, and a small business owner. My wife Beth and I have been married for 22 years, and we have 2 teenage children, Ryan, who is 17, and Emily, 14. And there's one thing I can tell you without a doubt, that behind every good man, you'll find a better woman. And that's certainly true in my case. You know, I have an engineering degree from the University of Central Florida, and I have a master's degree in computer engineering from Georgia Tech. And all the candidates that I've heard, they're all vying for who's the most conservative. And I can tell you that one thing that I know, that what's in the heart comes up in the bucket. And the one thing I'm most proud of is my son, who is 17, and my daughter, who is 14, they have never heard me utter one curse word in their entire life. So if you can find somebody that's more conservative than that, just point them out to me. You know, we face a lot of giants today here in America. You know, when we started the meeting, we said, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation under God. Those aren't just sound bites to me. That's where I live. That's who I am. You know, I'm not a career politician. I've never run for office. The other candidates we're talking about, they've talked to business owners. Well, I don't have to talk to business owners. I am a business owner. I started a company out of thin air 11 years ago. We develop and design software. And as a small business owner, what I can tell you is I have the experience of being the CEO and the CIO and the Director of Human Resources. I've managed every client relationship, every employee, their health benefits, their retirement plans. You know, as a small business owner, I just can't throw problems over the fence for somebody else to catch. You know, I have experience actually understanding when there is a problem, assigning the right resource to the right problem, developing solutions to the problem, and implementing those solutions. You know, the American people have fallen victim to these career politicians. They're all about promoting the me, myself, and I doctrine. You know, they all go there, they make decisions based on what are the political consequences. You know what we need to do? We need to send citizen candidates to Washington. I bet every one of you knows somebody, or maybe you even yourself, that would do a good job in Washington. But you won't put your name forward because it's too difficult to penetrate this machine. You know, 85% of our college students right now today fear that when they graduate from college, they'll have to move back home with their parents. The American dream is being crushed for 85% of our college students right here, right now. And this is personal for me. My son is 17. He's going to be a senior in high school next year.